Yeah. Boko.
Bro-code, we in new modes, and we do it better sticking together, won't bend, won't fold. No, I got your back through whatever weather, rain, sleet, or snow, making profit while we get to the cheddar. We in that mode, you know if we got a problem, we pull up in that jail, feel fall on my bros, collective like the colors in the rainbow. All of that talking you did on the net, we know that you only did it for a pose. If I pull up then I get in the tank, I need me like 500K for a show, or maybe more, and I got all of the stars in the ceiling cause we in a row. Yeah, just for the bros, brothers forever, so you know we got each other back. We aiming for gold, sticking together, tell us about the weather, we never slack, gotta stick to the code. Bro code, we in new modes, and we do it better sticking together, won't bend, won't fold. No, I got your back through whatever weather, rain, sleet, or snow, making profit while we get to the cheddar. They know we own, take off, we gone, diamonds two-tone, this is our throne.
What up? What's good, family? It's your boys from Bro-Code. Season 3, we live in effect. We want to take the time out to shout out to all our fans who've been riding with us since day one. We appreciate you guys. Hey, if you have not been on YouTube, go on YouTube and Facebook. Type in Bro-Code S2 and subscribe to your boys. If you haven't done it, do it right now. Okay? Right now. Shouts out to my boys. What's up, baby?
AC in the building.
My boy Coop.
What's up?
My bad. Dr. Coop. And my boy Rico. So today we got a very special show for you guys, but we got 2 female guests. What's up, bro? We gotta make sure the audience get themselves a round of applause, man. Thank all y'all for coming out.
We appreciate y'all.
They could have been anywhere else, but they chose to come be with us.
Right.
We're gonna give them a round of applause.
Right. Yes.
My bad.
Okay, now let's get into it.
Let's do this.
So we got a good show for you guys, man. But before we get started on the show, we got 2 female guests we want to bring to the stage. The first one is a good friend of mine. She's an actress, a model, a voiceover goddess, Miss Kimberly Newsom.
Yeah.
And the next guest, Miss B, the author, on Instagram, Miss Brandy. I see you just showing out. You hugging everybody.
Hey, man. I'm a lover, brother.
What's up, ladies? How y'all feeling?
Oh, good.
Welcome to the Bro-Code Show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us on here. Always nice to be on stage.
On some days. Just the weekend. Yeah. Thank you for coming.
So we're gonna get deep into this show. Go ahead and get started. Okay. So basically, our topic today is Black families, Black wealth. How can we all be on the same page? Now, when I first picked this topic, I felt like, okay, it's a lot that goes into that. So I did a little research, and stats show that 84% of the income that's made in America is made by white people, which only leaves 4% for Black people, and we are like 13% of the population. I thought that was crazy. So my mindset was like, okay, 84 to 4, that's a real big gap. You know what I'm saying? A real big gap. So I reached out to my boys. I was like, what are some of the things that you guys feel that we can do to try to close that gap?
I think one of the biggest things that we can do is become more knowledgeable in regards to finances, money, wealth, what it takes to become wealthy. It's definitely not something that's done overnight, but you can start with little to nothing and just continue to let it build. And then the next generation pick up the baton and do the same thing. And then so on and so forth. I mean, yeah, white people are wealthy, but they didn't get it overnight. You know what I'm saying? It's been years and years and years off of our backs. You know, we're being truthful right now. But, you know, they just continue to take their money, reinvest it, you know, spend it wisely and not just, you know, spend it, you know, loosely.
Yeah.
So let's try to talk about, and hopefully I guess can chime in on this. What we know we're behind the 8 ball. There's a gap, right? So what things do you guys think that we still do today that causes that gap to remain, right? Can y'all think of anything that gives us that, makes that happen?
I think it's just my opinion, but based on what me growing up and as African Americans, we tend to get a little bit of wealth, or a little bit of status or anything is become flashy. We tend to spend money on materialistic things versus the other races tend to invest in other things. So maybe that's something we need to start teaching our kids about credit scores, about investing in businesses and stocks and bonds. And I don't think we do a lot of that. I think it's just we see what the rappers do and what the entertainers do and what the Instagram posters do, and we're like, you know, I'm gonna buy this new pair of Louis Vuittons instead of going and take that $1,300 and invest it in something because that's what they see on TV. But that's what's kind of conditioning. It's kind of put in our community because we're making the money.
Yeah.
And so it continues to happen over time. You know, it's kind of like, you know, not to quote Lucy, but you know, I ain't never had anything so flashy. So it keeps going on and on and on for generations.
That's a really good point. And I think we need to accept the fact that most of us in the black community, we don't come from wealth. Like, we accept that. Like, that's cool. We don't come from wealth, right? But that does not limit us from being wealthy, right? So I think one of the first things we need to factor in is limiting the beliefs that we've grown up with. Like, we grew up seeing our parents live check to check, right? We don't have to have that mindset, right? In our generation, and if we're teaching our kids in the next generation, you don't have to live check to check. But a lot of us accept living check to check because that's what we've seen.
And I think, to speak on that, I think that's conditioning too, because our parents were used to like just taking the bare minimum because of what their parents did and what their parents did. Like me growing up in southern Mississippi, it was like if I thought outside the box, to be like, you know what, I don't want to be a nurse or whatever. I want to do journalism. No, you can't do that. What's wrong with you? You gotta get a job working 9 to 5 and clocking in. So it was a push to go outside the box.
Yes, I just want to piggyback off what you said. I'm a country girl, so I grew up in the country, and you're right. But my parents, they were middle class, so, you know, my mom liked to shop. My dad, you know, he brought home quite a bit of money, but he liked flashy things. So if it was a brand new car, he was going to go get it. Whatever it was, he was going to get it. So that's the way I grew up. Okay, so yeah, I like to shop. Okay, but however, I do set up barriers for myself. Like, okay, like, look, okay, if you can't afford it, then don't go get it. However, I just want to go back to the question that was asked. I have 3 grown children. So the thing that we teach them is start now. Start saving now. Because one of the things that I've learned from working in corporate America is that the earlier you start saving, the more your money compounds. And that's what a lot of white America does. They put a little bit of money in there every month, starting from a young age. So that way, when they retire at maybe 40, because they're able to retire, then they have millions of dollars in that account. They may have only put away a couple of $100 a month, and it compounds. And then you're also gaining interest on that. So those are some of the things we do need to teach our children. We also need to teach them, what I'm trying to do right now, I haven't made it there, but I'm still just pursuing the goal, is that one day I would like to create generational wealth. Now, generational wealth, that is something that if we learn how to use the money properly, such as invest. There's so many investment options out there right now. If we do that, then there can be money for generations to come.
Yeah, so it sounds like, I guess the first thing we should do is educate our kids, right? So that's something that sitting here today, when we go home, we can start doing that, as a people, right? Also, what we can do is that if we don't have good credit, we work on fixing our credit, but as soon as we get good credit, me and my wife, as an example, we put our oldest son's name on our credit card. So now when he goes to do something, they're going to look at it as, he's been paying his bills or whatever, he has good credit, right? So those are some things that we can start off. So it's education, and don't abuse our kids' Social Security numbers, right? Don't do that, right? Make them better, right? Because like you mentioned generational wealth, right? Most of us don't have that, right? And we're not necessarily going to get that in one generation, right? But sitting here today, we can start thinking about it and say, hey, we are the beginning, right? So we can start that generational wealth today, right? So when we leave, right, I know you all have some things to add to this, but, life insurance, like, don't have, everybody know, we always talk about that kind of stuff, right? Having land, having property to leave to your kids, right? Things like that, can set them on the, on the right path, because, of course, we didn't have our 40 acres in a mule. We don't have land. All of us don't have land to pass to our kids. I want to tell a quick story, right? So I actually met a coworker this past weekend, and he said his mom actually just was approached by Amazon, right? She has all these acres of land somewhere. I'm not really sure exactly, right? But she was able to sell a single acre, right, to Amazon for $125,000, right? So she sold, I think she sold them 10 or 15 acres, something like that, right? So that's the thing about it, like, we are way behind the 8 ball, right? So we have to do small things to close that gap, right? Over generations, right? But I think we can do it, but it's just start baby steps. You gotta start somewhere.
Yeah. I think the other thing is we as a black community, when we talk about wealth building, we need to accept the fact that money is not always the root of evil, right? You always hear, like, it's a huge misconception. Money is the root of all evil. No, it's not. Not if you're disciplined, not if you're responsible, not if you're trying to have an honest living and leave something back for your kids or whatever your legacy is, right? Money is not always the root of evil. And a lot of us have taken on that misconception, and we say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna make money. I might do it the wrong way, but I'm gonna get money. Nah, there's ways to make money. There's ways to have wealth, and it doesn't have to be evil in nature.
So I'm gonna just go back to something, that you said about credit, right? Because a lot of people don't understand credit. Right? They don't understand the value of credit. We have people that think cash is king, right? We always hear that saying, cash is king, cash is king. No, it's not. Credit is king.
Yeah.
All day, every day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can take credit and get 10 times the cash that you have in your pocket. You know what I'm saying? And then you can still keep your cash to do whatever you want to do with it while spending the credit, right? So let's talk about credit for a moment. Because, I got some numbers over here. Numbers.
They're right.
All right. So according to a 2022 study, looked at the median credit score, right? Black young adults 18 to 20 had a median credit score 24 points lower than their white peers. Right? 21 to 24 in majority black communities had a median credit score 83 points lower. Yeah. The gap just continues to grow. 25 to 29, 105 points. That's a huge number.
Right.
Especially when you understand credit scores and understand, having a 700 is better than having a 600, 800,
That right there seems like it'll keep you from buying that house.
Right. So that brings me to my next point. Credit is important because not only achieving financial goals, but renting an apartment. Because a lot of places now, when you go to rent an apartment, first thing they do is what? Check your credit. Because they want to know if you're going to pay your bills or not. Right. And if your credit bad, he's not going to pay us. So that can affect your living situation.
That's right.
Buying a house.
That's right.
Buying a house is the quickest way to start your journey to financial freedom and generational wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because a lot of people don't understand or don't know that, okay, you can buy a house and you can live in that house, pay the mortgage every month. Hey, I can take out a HELOC loan on my house and I can go buy a multi-family property and I can get that money to pay my mortgage. Mm-hmm. And I can still work and get my paycheck and put it in the bank. Right. Or invest it. That's right. Or use it to go buy a second multi-family property.
That's right.
That's right. Stuff like that we don't know, we don't understand.
Yeah.
And we're no financial advisors, we're none of that.
None of that.
We've some guys who have read, we all have these conversations and talk about this stuff a lot because it's important.
Yeah.
Like you said, starting with our kids. I started with mine early, like 8th grade, 9th grade, all through high school. Mm-hmm. Credit. Authorized users on the credit card,
Yeah.
Trying to put them in a situation that's going to help them instead of hinder them.
Yep.
And now they're older, they understand. They look at credit like, hey, I gotta make sure it don't go down. I gotta make sure it keep going up.
Right.
I want to get a house one day.
Yeah.
Buying a car, probably the quickest way to help boost it. But having the credit score to buy that car is definitely what's important.
Yep. I think the other thing we need to understand too is that, and it goes back to our childhood, right? We grew up, go to school, get a good education, make a lot of money. We need to understand that having a high income is not enough, right? Because when you're making a high income, you're actually making it for somebody else, right? So that's really not enough. We need to understand that.
So I'm gonna say, high income does help, right? It really does, right?
It does.
So
it really does.
And also, what helps is a strong black family, right? So having two is always better than one. I'm gonna always say it, right? So that could be one problem in our black community is not having a strong, family in the same household, right? Combining those incomes, right? Or even if you say, if the man is working and the woman is there, got the household on lock, right? But she is his rock and helping him, right? But in the end, two incomes does make everything easier, right? So now you have that money to buy a house. You have that extra money to start something for your kids. You got that extra money to buy a rental house. You got money for investments and stuff like that. At the same time, you're still budgeting like you should be, right? Saving for certain things, right? And not going into all this crazy debt, right? And then I'm gonna pass the mic on this one, but I know when you don't have that strong family bond, right? And then now you're separated. Now you have, a separated family, and then you got stuff like conflict over money, which is child support and things like that. And then that happens a lot in our community, right? So we're not staying together, right? And the other races, they don't do it. I don't think they do it as often. I don't have any statistics or anything, but they're doing it to the end, right? So you can continue to save and build on that generational wealth and have whatever you want, right? But we do have to figure out a way how to keep that family together, right? To be strong over generations.
Yep. So, as for stats, let me read this one too. So, the average value of liquid assets among white households in 2019 was $8,100. but for the black household, it was only 1,500. I truly believe part of that is if you look at a lot of white households, they're not always pushing the kids. When you get 18, you gotta get out of here. You know what I'm saying? A lot of white people basically take their kids the whole time you're there, even though you push them to go to school, you also teach them trades. You also teach them about, like you said, like credit. You also teach them how to open different accounts. So when something happens to the parent, that's why it's so easy for the kid to just jump right into the place like nothing happened. I'm saying, but us, as the black community, when you get 18, you gotta get up out of here because I'm tired of paying all this. But then when the kid leaves, you still paying it.
But we also got to stay together.
Right. But the thing about it is, if we're not so rushing the kid to get out, because basically, okay, you can't sit here and say when you get 18, you gotta get out on your own and find a job. But the whole time he was there between 1 and 18, he never prepared before you get out there and get a job. So now when you get out there and doing all this crazy stuff, it's more pressure on you because now those $1,500, $1,600 you got to pay to get him out of jail, you could have been using that to teach him how to invest money in something.
True. I think it's just we need to start with reconditioning our kids. Like teaching them, like you said, at a younger age about credit and stuff like that to get them to a point when they're 7 and 16 and 20, like that, hey, this is what you need, what needs to go on, what needs to happen. I think we don't do that a lot in the black community. And it's not just white community. I've seen Asian, Spanish, they all put in that effort. And speaking on what you said about the household being two, that's also a reconditioning. When we have young black sons, we need to start like, hey, when you have responsibilities, when you're laying with this girl, when you should aspire to marriage and not aspire to have a baby mama, 3 or 4.
So we're gonna go ahead and switch this. Since we're talking about family, we're gonna switch this on family. I want to read when I say this right here, it kind of like basically dampened my spirit a little bit because it just only shows us, how big the issue really is. 28% of African American children do not live with any father representation. 28%. Okay, that's the problem. But the crazy part about it is 25 to 33% of African American men spend time in jail or prison. So that's a problem. But as we was talking about family, I agree with you. We gotta, like I said, a 2-family household is gonna always benefit. But at the same time, we as the black community, what we gotta do is figure out how to work together, even if we're apart. So what I'm saying, like, one of the biggest things that I strive on, and like me and my boys, we talk about this all the time. We're saying it's the difference between a dad and a father. Okay, if you are a father, you're gonna be there for that kid regardless of what you go through with that mother or anybody else. Okay, so we as the black community, we gotta basically realize what is number one. We're saying in the whole goal, and that's the kid. We're saying because a lot of these kids are going astray because of the fact that they don't have that father representation. But, and I'm looking at the camera and say this to the single moms, basically we gotta make it easier for that dad, to be able to work with you, with that kid. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so easy to say, well, you know what? I can't put up with the mom, so I ain't dealing with the kid. Nah, the kid has to be here. So you gotta take on your responsibility to take care of that kid. You gotta be there for that kid because at the end of the day, you saying both of y'all help make the kid. So I'm saying it ain't all her job for you to just turn your back and raise the kid. I'm saying you both gotta be able to be there for the kid, but you gotta do it together.
So, really good points. And I totally agree that healthy co-parenting is the way to go if the kids are our main priority, right? Kids gotta be the main priority in getting to wealth, emotional state, just healthy lifestyle for the kids, right? But the question is, how do we get there, right? How do we get there?
Okay, I'm going to be very transparent here.
We keep it real on Bro Code.
Yeah, I'll be very transparent.
We keep it real on Bro Code.
So, I am divorced. I've been divorced for 2 years. Okay, I had the most beautiful home, driving the best cars, expensive cars, all that good stuff. I had a good life. Okay, however, me and my ex had marital problems. Okay, children were almost grown. He was the breadwinner. I did work. I worked for the federal government, so I got a good job. However, I let him, handle bills, handle all this good stuff, right? However, this is a message, and I'm gonna say it's for the women. For all my fellow sisters out there, I just want to tell you, handle your business. Handle your business. Men too, handle your business, okay? Because I feel like both parties in a relationship, when you get into these relationships, you say, okay, well, this is what I want, okay? This is what I want us to have together, okay? However, if you love one another, you should also be saying, well, if something happened between us, then I want you to be able to be self-sufficient over here. And I want myself to be self-sufficient over here. So let's work on that. Yes, we have this together. However, but let's work on each one of us being self-sufficient. I went through this marriage to let him take care of everything. It was a lot during the divorce. I found out a lot wasn't being taken care of on my behalf. And so I ended up having to start over. And one of those things was credit. Okay, so he had like A1 credit. And I really I didn't even really care that much because everything I wanted, he just got it for me, I had everything that I wanted.
So how did he have A1 and you had no credit?
Because what he would do is, my bills suffered a lot of times. And I didn't even realize it because I didn't care about that. I was putting everything else first. I was taking care of the household. I was working. I was doing this and doing that.
So another question. How are y'all married? And so your bill, his bill.
Right.
Thank you. That's why we're divorced now. However,
My dog.
that's why I said I'm going to be transparent. I don't tell my business, but however, I can tell you that I'm back on the right road. Okay, God has been so good because I've got like three promotions on my job. Wiped out $128,000 student loan debt went to zero. I'm getting ready to buy a house now. I rented a house for 2 years. I said I'm not renting anymore. I'm buying a house now because I do have 3 20-something-year-olds that are looking at me.
Yeah, sure.
And I want to be the role model that they deserve.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And I need to show them that, hey, this is the way. Okay? This is what you got to do in order to succeed. Okay? So each one of them, I'll have 3 college graduates in June.
Oh, wow.
3.
Wow.
So you gotta group. It's okay for the little boys to say, "Oh, I want to play professional, this professional, that professional." No, you change that. When I go to college, or when I go to this, when I go to that, then I'll be able to have those things. But it's not okay. Well, I'm gonna be a professional. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, there are certain steps you gotta go to get to those things. So that's all I got to say about that. I just want to say handle your business because I might not have been handling my business in the past, but trust me, I'm on a constant grind right now. I'm definitely handling my business.
So I'm gonna follow up with what you said because me and Rico always go back and forth about this all the time. We never gonna have one bank account. All the money never going in one account. It's never gonna happen.
Right.
Because we need to have checks and balances, and you further validated my point of having checks and balances, right? You know, one person you feel, oh, this person loves me, they gonna take care of me, blah blah blah, and then look what you got.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
agree with
You know what I'm
you.
saying? So it's never gonna happen. Never. Put a camera in, oh, it's never gonna happen. You know, and that's just for both people, right? And it's not to say that when you go into a relationship, you automatically looking at that person like, oh, they're gonna do me this way, right? Because you know y'all love each other, y'all in a new relationship. Oh, we love each other. They got me. But reality always sets in, right?
I was in a 26-year marriage.
No.
Okay, so it wasn't anything new about that.
Right. And that was furthest from your mind, right?
It was.
Right. So, you know, I think my point or my perspective is separate accounts, joint account to pay the bills. You work for your money. I don't want to tell you what to do with your money because that's your money. You work for it. But at the same time, we got to pay these bills. So, you know, put the bill money in there, and then you take the rest of your money and do what you want to with it, right?
But just remember, when you spend all yours, that's all yours going.
Right. I might give her an allowance. If she's nice. I give her an allowance. She need that MAC foundation or something over.
Better believe that.
I might
You know
give her
what?
a
This brings me
MAC
to it.
foundation.
See, we getting all off. Wait a minute. Okay, because I just gotta say this though. Okay, so the man
Right.
always wants his woman to look good. She looking fabulous when you meet her. You always want her to look good.
Do we really?
Looking good costs money.
I got this.
Okay? So you want her to spend her money to continue to look fabulous. For you. For you. Yes, go ahead.
Well,
Yeah.
see, I told y'all I would be nice this season. I told y'all I would be nice this season.
Be yourself.
But they coming for me to bring me out. I had retired. Okay, so let me say this. Okay, first of all, yes, he wants you to look good. Yes, he wants you to do all that. But you should want that for yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Number one, okay? So, because I'm here to tell you, when I look in the mirror, I know I look good. I don't need you to tell me that. I don't need you to go buy me no sneakers, no shirt, no pants, none of that for me to look
want
good.
your girl to tell you you look good?
Listen, when I look in the mirror, I'm like, boy, you look good.
I said you don't want her to tell you.
She can tell me that's going to add to it. Okay, but anyway, it's called self-confidence. Okay, you should already have that. Now, I'm going to add to it. Yeah, I can get your nails done. I can get your toes done, your hair. Yeah, I get what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, so can any other Joe Blow can do the same thing. So
No, that's your girl.
no, listen. But my thing is, you my girl when I can be doing all that.
Say it again.
You can be my girl when I can be doing all that. So hold up, let me hear me out. Let me finish. Hold up. You know, I always have to go somewhere with it. Okay. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna lead you, boy. You know, follow me. So at the end of the day, here's my thing. Yeah, you're saying you may want all those things, but this is the thing I need women to understand. Yeah, you want us to. Yeah, if I'm your queen, you should matter how I look. Yeah, but guess what? I'm your king, so it shouldn't matter how I look too. So I'm saying, don't think that. I'm saying, and you, why you looking at me? I see you on Facebook. Oh, he spoiled me. I spoiled him. Hey, kudos to you for that.
That's
Because everybody don't do that.
And that's how it should be.
That's my point. So, okay, that's my point. So here's my thing. Hey, I don't mind spoiling you at all. But guess what? I want to be spoiled too.
Every time you spoil it, you expect something back.
No, not every time. But here's my thing. Don't let me spoil you for 2 or 3, 4 times in a row, and then I gotta ask you to do something.
Well, that's where you got to have an exit plan.
That's where you gotta have an exit plan. You gotta understand, like, okay, this one-sided. You know what? This might not be the right situation to be in, right? And you have time. I think that's why dating is very important, because you get that opportunity to feel that person out, right? So now that we're on that topic, I feel like, you know, when it comes to relationships, if we want to talk about relationships, I feel like most healthy relationships come with two people. Let's say this: if your goal is marriage, let's see, people can be in relationships for different reasons, right? But if your relationship is towards marriage, and that's the end goal, then I feel like you need to be married to something before you get married to someone. And you need to be married to purpose, whatever your purpose is, right? And I think a lot of people don't understand that when it comes to relationships, being married on purpose, right? Having something that you are fulfilled, you're doing your purpose, that other person's doing their purpose, they come together for a healthy relationship. Go ahead.
So that's what the black family should be. We should be looking for that healthy relationship in order to push us back on topic and, generational wealth, right? Because that being together makes that a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
as a black family, we're going to love each other, right? We're going to be together. So we're going to strive for generational wealth, right? So again, I got statistics, I'm not stats. I got some information for y'all. 5 methods of thriving and building black generational wealth, right? I don't think I've ever heard that word more than I've heard it in the last 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if people just waking up to the fact that it's possible, it's doable, or, I don't know. So, number 1, know the willpower of financial planning. A lot of us don't know financial planning, and it's fine because we didn't come from a background of financial planning. So guess what? It's an app for that.
Yeah.
Or it's a person for that.
Yeah.
You got financial advisors, you got people you can hire. If you can't afford to hire somebody, Google is free. Reading is free.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of stuff that people know or don't know is at their fingertips. They just, don't even pursue it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Learn to mind your own black business. I love that one. I'm gonna say that one again. Learn to mind your own black business, right?
Entrepreneur.
It don't matter what the Johnsons got over here or the Joneses got over here. Guess what? We're gonna worry about what the Goose got over here. And we're gonna try to build that up.
Right,
You know what I'm saying? We ain't competing with the Johnsons and Joneses.
Right.
That's right.
We just trying to run our own race
That's right.
and win.
That's right.
Because it's a marathon.
That's
We
right.
have to understand building wealth is a marathon. It's
Yeah.
not a race.
Yeah.
And if you understand the difference, then you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It is not gonna happen overnight. It's not gonna happen in 5 years or even 10 years.
Right.
We talk about our counterparts, the YT people. Their wealth is from 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. And that's why they're in the position that they're in. These presidents, some of these doctors, some of the people we even went to school with.
Right.
Think about this. First day of school, what we trying to do?
Hey, look good.
We trying to be fresh, clean, boy. Show them.
Right.
How they come to school?
Everything.
With their summer clothes on. The same pair of shoes they ended the school year with last year.
That's right.
But little Johnny, we got to get them $200 J's and AJ12s that came out. We got to have them.
Right.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
No. My folks were like that. My folks didn't play them games. Look, I was little Johnny myself. But no, seriously, we have to recondition our kids to think that education is more important than image.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our kids feel like image is more important than education.
Yeah.
They need the newest this and the newest that. And I
Look rich.
right. Look rich, feel rich, not necessarily be rich, but we feel it because of how we dress.
Yeah.
Invest in the stock market and real estate. Stock market, real estate, 2 biggest things to get that money popping. Get that money growing. You know what I mean? Like I said earlier, you can take a loan on your house. You take $100,000 loan on your house on a HELOC, pay a couple extra dollars a month. You go buy a multi-family, that'll pay your mortgage plus the HELOC.
Yeah.
I know Coop said real estate, right? So today, right, most of y'all have $100 in your pocket, maybe $10, right? I can tell you, you can invest in real estate today with that same $10 at $100, right? There's an app that you can go download called Ground Floor, right? And what they do is, other people are coming, hey, I need money to flip this house or whatever, right? And they're looking for people to put money in on it, right? So it might be a 10% return on your money, 5% return, maybe 6, 7 months, 3 months. Some of them are real short, right? But you can take as little as $10, right? That's all you got, and put it into an investment and get some return on your money.
Yeah.
So when people say, man, I ain't got but a little bit, there's some things you can do to still invest in, right? Start small. It don't have to be big. It don't have to be 10, 15, 50 grand. It don't have to be that. It can be something small, and you just work your way up the totem pole, right? You got to start somewhere, right? That's all you have to do.
And that's a good point, man. And I'll be honest with you, us as a race, we need to be there for each other, right? So we have to be realistic. Some of us may not even have $10 in our pocket right now, and that's cool, right? The struggle is real. That's the world that we live in, right? And us as a panel, us as brothers, we said, hey, we want to come together and we want to give the people that support us, we want to deliver a message, and we want to say, hey, there's some free resources out there. All right, there's some free resources out there. And one of the free resources that I came across, a lot of my devotion in the morning time is I listen to K-Love Radio, 106.7. I also do a lot of YouTube, and there's some speakers that I listen to, R.C. Blakes, Jerry Flowers Jr. There's a lot of people that I listen to, right? And a lot of people are giving good messages, right? But there's this one particular brother that gave a message, and his series was talking about money and the mismanagement of money and how to live an abundant life in our race, right? And this pastor is Michael Todd. He's Transformation Church, and he actually, if you go to his page, everybody heard of Dave Ramsey? Dave Ramsey, right? So his church, his ministry is offering free Dave Ramsey workshop for anybody that goes to his website right now. So if you go to transformationchurch.us and you go to Ramsey Plus, I think that course is like $130, right? But it's financial peace. You can go and you can get your finances in order. If you got credit card debt, you got any kind of debt, go to that website, sign up. The code is already in there, and work on your finances, because the reality is it could be some of us in here right now that don't have $10 to our name, and that's okay, right? But how do we get out? How do we get out of that? And so transformationchurch.us, Ramsey Plus, and sign up for the free workshop for David Ramsey.
I want to co-sign on that, Dave Ramsey. Shout out to Stacey Harmon. She put me onto that early, and that the dead snowball stuff, how that all flows and works, is truly a tool that, we can use to push us toward financial freedom.
Yep.
Right, sure.
Another way that you can work on your credit, because trust me, it took me almost a year and a half to rebuild it. So now that I watch it every month. I'm telling you, I am constantly watching it.
You did it yourself, right?
Yes. I didn't go through those.
So, that was my point.
Yeah, I did it myself. A good way to boost your credit is you may have something that, say, for instance, due on the 15th. Well, go ahead and make half of that payment. If there's $100 that's due on the 15th, go ahead and pay $50 on the 5th or something like that. And then pay the other $50 before the 15th. And what it'll do, it'll make it look like you made 2 payments. And it'll go ahead and help your credit. It'll boost it like every month. So that's just something small that can give you great results. A lot of people may not feel like doing it because they feel like it's a hassle. However, I can tell you it works. so it will help.
So what she's talking about is credit hacking, basically.
Yeah.
You got a statement date and you got a due date.
Right.
So people need to learn the difference between statement date and due date, right? And when you make those payments before your statement date, it will help catapult your credit,
Yes.
right? And it'll help put you, the statement date. No. The due date is when it's actually due. The interest already done kicked in.
Right.
The statement date is when the interest hasn't kicked in, and you can go ahead and make that payment. So when your due date actually comes up, you already made the payment. So now if you want to make another payment,
Yeah.
it looks like
Depend on
you
that
made
principle.
two
Yeah,
payments.
depend on that principle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that is definitely one way. Like she said, take the time to understand credit. Do it yourself. Don't be lazy and hire these credit people to fix your credit for you. I'm a witness. Personal experience. I fixed my own credit. Years ago, I didn't hire nobody. This is before all the credit companies, oh, we can do this, we can do that. No. Learn this stuff. Google is free. Google, research, read, understand, man. Everybody in here is an adult. We send our kids to school and we fuss at them about not understanding, about not doing their work. And when we're doing the same thing. You know what I mean? So understand credit, understand what you need to do to make your credit increase. Getting a credit card, using it, paying it. Same thing, rinse, repeat every month. Watch your credit score climb. You know what I mean? It works. You can do the same thing that these credit repair people say that they can do. And more, because it's your credit. You're going to be more invested and more engaged than they will be, because you're a dollar sign to them. But your credit is more to you than that. Right? So let's move on. We got a couple more on this journey to building generational wealth. Become fluid in your own finances. Understand what you have. Understand what you bring in versus what you have going out. That's a big part of it. Don't have more money going out than you have more money coming in. That's a bad situation. If you need to cut a cable for a year, cut a cable for a year. You know, if you don't need to go out and eat every month, or you might go out and eat one weekend a month instead of 3 weekends a month, do that. Save that money. Make that effort to decrease what you have going out. Become proactive in reducing student loan debt. That's a big one. That's probably most of the people in this room if you went to college. You know what I'm saying? Student loan debt is a killer. And that takes me back to what you said about our counterparts. They have money to go to school. None of them are paying student loan debt. Majority of them are. You know what I mean? Their parents plan, save, and they go to school for free. That's how they can stay in school 5 and 6 years. We can't stay in school that long. We got 4 years and we got to get out. Or our parents trying to make us come home. We don't got playroom like that. You got to get a job because your student loans piling up. Who finna pay this? Our folks not trying to pay our student loan debt. We got to go in school, we got to handle our business, and we got to get out.
Well, they can't pay.
That too. They can't pay it. Because they're working. And you got brother and sister at home. And they live in check to check. So we don't have that luxury. We graduate, we got to go straight into the workforce. They graduate, they got 6 to 12 months they take off.
Vacation.
Yeah, they on vacation. They on recovery.
Well, another way that I didn't know this until, of course, my own children. When you start getting approached by these recruiters, this is something we should teach our children, our young folks. A good thing to look at when you're looking at these companies is whether or not they have a student loan repayment program. Because a lot of them, you can negotiate that into your contract coming on and say, hey, I'll give you 4 years here at your company, but I need you to pay out this $50,000. And so that helps out a lot. If you work for the federal government like I do, or or a healthcare worker, things like that. Like I said, I have 2 master's degrees. Let me tell you, I was using them student loans. So it was actually $95,000. And with interest, it was $128,000. And I took it upon myself. I didn't believe it because we have all these people, these fraudulent people calling you talking about, student loan forgiveness, this, that, and that. Those are frauds, okay? They just want to be the middleman, and then you start paying them. But I looked into the program that we had, and I just said, okay, I'm going to submit this paperwork. And in about 8 months, my statement said 0. I mean, it was completely wiped out. So it's things out there to where you can get those things fixed. And that's part of fixing my credit, getting rid of $128,000 worth of debt. Okay? So we gotta be vigilant into seeking ways to decrease the debt.
Yeah.
Like, we may have it, but there are ways out there to decrease that debt that you have.
Definitely. I'm a federal employee as well. And I'm a veteran as well.
Me too.
So 4 years in the Army changed my life. From a financial perspective, it put me in a situation where I bought a house. I had to worry about putting no money down. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, it put me in a situation where I can get a federal job. I work minimal, holidays every month, no weekends, and at the same time, making a good salary doing so. But also put me in a situation where, okay, my student loans can be repaid by the federal government. If I work for them for 10 years, make so many payments, boom, they knock out so much. And I'm saying that to say a little bit of sacrifice, right? Sacrificing 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, however long you choose to sacrifice to commit yourself to service in the armed forces. No, it's not for everybody, but it could be if you think bigger picture and not short term. Oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to wake up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. I didn't either. But at the same time, guess what? Waking up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, I work from home every day. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to worry about if I'm getting a paycheck or not. My bills paid. And I got other things that I can utilize based on it. So, again, that's another avenue that we can incorporate into using to help build black wealth. You go in, they got 401k programs, they got savings programs, they got bond programs, all these things that they come talk to you about when you're finishing up training that a lot of us don't know about because we're not financially literate. We don't understand. Yeah, and that's true.
One thing I wish I would have known when I was in high school that I ran, because I have oldest sons in college as well. And when I graduated, I took on a lot of student debt because I wasn't knowledgeable about scholarships that were out there. It was the minimum scholarships that I didn't even know about. Like my late father was a Mason, and I could have got that scholarship. My mother was a nursing student. Like, it was so many grants and stuff. And we talk about the other races having so much money to go to school. I think that they utilize their options. We just see, because I remember being in college and quit bragging about, I'm getting $1,500 back for my refund. And we're looking at that.
Yeah.
And,
Straight out of polo out there.
Exactly. We're riding rims on it and don't realize we're going into more and more debt. So, a lot of things we teach our kids is like when it gets to that point when you start signing up that paperwork for FAFSA, that's going to come back on you years later. Even when you get ready to apply for a job. I worked in the medical field when I first started in accounting for 5 years, and I saw doctors were fired because they owed student debt. And a lot of people don't realize that with your credit can affect you getting a job.
Yes.
Big time. So that's one thing we need to teach our kids is like there's other options than just getting that big loan so you can get this money back. There's so many scholarships that they're not just for athletes, but it's so much. And I wish I would have known that because I would have been, $40,000 more money.
Well, I just want to add to what you're saying. Okay, I have a daughter that's an engineer. So she was going to Clark Atlanta. So she did have some student loans, but she got a GI Bill. My ex split up GI Bill with the three of them. So she was getting that for a year, but it's very expensive to attend Clark Atlanta. So anyway, fast forward, once you were in the engineering program within 3 years, you have to transfer. If you're going to school in the ABC, you have to transfer to a co-op school because they don't have the classes there to so you can complete it. So Northeastern out of Boston came to the ABC. They needed some diversity within their engineering program there. So they chose 20 students to give them a full ride for the next 2 years. So my daughter was one of those recipients. Now you're talking about $70,000 a year to go to that school. So she was like, well, Mom, I don't know. I said, yes, you do. Pack your bag. You on the way out, honey. You got to go. I'm sorry. So those are things we should look into. There are schools out there for our children that need our children in their school. I also have an athlete. My son plays football for the University of Nebraska. And so then now they have all this NIL stuff out there and this, that, and the other. Yeah, that's cool. It's good. But because my ex-husband gets 100% VA, he qualifies for Chapter 35. So now, not only does he get he's on a full ride, he's getting NIL money. Now he's getting Chapter 35 money. I said, son, when you graduate, you should have a great savings account. Because at first, I would see him with all these expensive $300-$400 pair of shoes. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Wait. I said, what if football doesn't work out?
Right.
What if it doesn't work out? Okay, what you gonna do? So you need to have a savings account. So I can honestly say he does have a nice little savings account. You know, because every now and then, you know, I was like, oh, take a little peek. You know, let's just see. I don't want to be in your business, but let's just, see. So, like I said, with saving money, we do have to teach our children to save money. If they can't go out there and look for those things for college, such as scholarships, grants, this, that, and the other, we got to be able to help them. We got to take time out. That's part of handling our business, is trying to also assist them with what they need to be successful.
Also, I just want to piggyback off of that. I think you should also encourage the kids to, if they're majoring in something like sociology, right? Stay in the state. There's no sense of you flying to California or, being in Texas or way out of state, paying out of state fees for sociology.
That's true.
Now, all of a sudden, you got some kind of, you want to go to MIT, right? Where, when you come out of there, you're going to be an engineer, you guarantee the job and stuff like that. That makes sense, right? If you're going out of state and that school is not giving you any money, or you don't have some scholarship to pay, a good portion of, don't get that debt. You get the same thing at Georgia State, for the in Georgia, right? Anybody out say this and that. Georgia State is a great school. You got West Georgia. You got HBCUs here in Georgia, right? Stay in state, get the in-state money. Don't spend that extra money that potentially that you might not already have just to be out of state and go hang with your friends and be in Miami.
Shout out to Georgia Southern too, which is a great school. Georgia Southern,
He gonna just look over us.
Exactly, right. You ain't gonna do that right. The Statesboro, you know about the borough, let's go. But I did want to piggyback off what you said and maybe you can help us out because I think we're going to get a lot of views on this. We've got a lot of people looking at this, and when we post this, a lot of people are going to be asking questions. So you mentioned about your son who, took advantage of scholarships and NIL, but you mentioned Chapter 35 too. Can you kind of enlighten people, like what is Chapter 35?
Okay, Chapter 35 is basically, it's a program that's out there for the families of, well, actually the veterans use it too, I believe, but it's for families of veterans who receive 100% VA disability. So it's out there. when I submitted the paperwork, because he was like, Mom, I need that. I was like, I was married to your dad for 26 years. I got every piece of paperwork on it. I was the one that I sent email and all. I said, so I'm going to put this in for you. Because I was told at first, and you can't always go by what people say. You need to investigate yourself, research it yourself. That he couldn't get it. I was like, okay, well, let me do some research. So I submitted the paperwork, just let it go for about 4 or 5 months. And I kept saying, Quentin, I said, did you receive a letter from the VA? I need to know. Well, he said no. I was cleaning up his room in Nebraska, I found the letter. And not only did they go ahead and start those funds coming in, they backdated the check to September 2021. So he got like a $16,000, $17,000 check. Wow. And then they started with the $1,400 or $1,500 a month. But it's money out there. If you're a family member of a veteran or a veteran, the best thing you can do is call your VA reps and find out what's out there.
Thank you so much.
So, yeah, Chapter 35 is definitely a savior for some of our military kids going to school. Because parents, when we went in, we opted for GI Bill, we opted for the kicker. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was during the time where, what was it, like Afghanistan started or something like that? Yeah. I'm trying to remember.
You're talking
don't quote me on this.
GI Bill?
Like again, Google is free. We're on Google now. But yeah, you can basically sign your GI Bill benefits over to your kid if you don't use them. Mm-hmm. I have a friend that did the same thing for their son, and when they went to school, they were able to use the GI Bill to pay tuition and get a check every month to help them with nothing because they didn't have any bills, so they just got a check every month. You know.
Side note, like just like when we were talking about like when your kids looking for jobs and stuff like that. So a lot of people we don't know in our community like look for jobs that like companies that are publicly traded. A lot of times they will actually give you stocks in the company when you join it on, right? Or during evaluation periods and stuff like that, right? So that's a bonus to work for those companies because they're not only you got the normal benefits but also stocks. And so basically you become a part of the company, right? And so those are things that can help in long. You know what I mean? So those are some.
All right, so I got one more statistic for y'all before we get out of here because I like stats, right? We're gonna talk about the wealth gap real quick. So for every $1 of wealth held by a white family, black family only had 25 cents in 2022. 25 cents of a dollar. A 2021 Brookings Institute study estimated that black homes are undervalued by 23% for a total of $156 billion of lost wealth. I know that is accurate, and I know that because I saw, and I don't know if any of y'all saw, the black family, I think they were like in California or something, House appraisal. The house appraisal came in, what was it, 200, 200? It was way less than what it should have been, and they knew it because they understood the numbers and they did the research, right? So when they discussed it, went back, took all the pictures out that indicated that it was a black-owned house, then it came in like 100, 200,000 almost above what it should have been, which is completely crazy, but it's not because we already know that they undervalue us, right? But we know that we have value because if it were not for us, this country wouldn't exist, right? So a lot of people don't understand our contributions to this world. You know, if it were not for black people, black inventors, we wouldn't have air conditioning, traffic lights, microwaves, cell phones, peanut butter, bathrooms that we all use. I just learned that one like a couple months ago. You know, and then when we talk about alcohol, everybody knows Jack Daniels, right? Nobody knows Uncle Nearest.
Right.
Uncle Nearest was the person who created Jack Daniels or did all the work for Jack Daniels. Jack Daniels was the name on the bottle. So when people try to minimize our contributions or make us feel like, you know, we're just here and we're not adding to the country or to the culture, we are. We are the country. We are the culture. You know what I mean? We've created this thing. This is us. And we can definitely take advantage and become more than what we are. You know, we can create more than what we've created. But we have to understand our own power to be able to do that. The guy that owns Hennessy, he also owns, I think it was like Louis Vuitton and Balenciaga or something like that. We made him a multi-billionaire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, shout out.
You're right.
But people don't understand it. Yeah. Yeah, we do. For some reason, I don't know why. I don't even like it. It's nasty. No, it's Crown Royal. I do Uncle Nearest.
Well, I want to add what you were saying. I worked in corporate over 20 years in accounting, and a lot of things that we're afraid of, not just to tell it to our kids, but to ourselves. Don't be afraid to negotiate your salary.
That's right.
Like, a lot of times we can get that in our hand, like, if I ask for more money, they're going to get rid of me, or I didn't know.
That's right.
They do it all, they know that they're scared to lose you. And I learned that in the last 5 years when I had 3 job offers, and I was like, well, he's paying this much.
Know your worth.
Know your worth. And then they counteracted each time. So I was like, wait a minute, I'm on to something here. Like, you're supposed to pay me. So do not be afraid. Like tell your kids the same thing when they get ready to get a job. Like, hey, if they're throwing peanuts at you, well, you know, Joe down the street gonna pay me such and such. Even if you gotta lie about it.
Yeah.
They're going to pay you more, because I've seen so many of the other races going to the office and saying, well, you have me doing all this stuff, such and such quit last week, and I'm doing all my work, give me more money. Mm-hmm. And what we fail to realize is that we'll do it and not ask for more money.
Right. Yeah.
And then complain that we're doing more work.
Right. Yep.
No, you go in there and negotiate what you're worth and make more money. So.
Yeah.
Also, when it comes to these jobs, regardless of what your skill set is, because I'm saying you can always learn something new. Don't be afraid to apply to these jobs. They can only say no. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of us look at these jobs and just like, you know what, I can't do that. I don't think I'm qualified. No, you never know until you apply for it. Because a lot of times these jobs basically put those jobs out there just to see who's going to apply for them. And if you apply for them, yeah, you might not have the skill set, but they can train you.
They can train you.
You know what I'm saying? So never sell yourself short on that.
And to piggyback off what you said, negotiate your salary. Me and my best friend laugh and cut up all the time, but he is the king of negotiating his salary. He would throw a number out there real quick. You know, he worked for the government as well. So he got hired as a, just 13. But he was doing the work for the 13 and the 14. So of course, when the 14 left and it was time for them to fill the position, I'm not doing 14-1. You're gonna have to do like 14-3 or 4.
Right.
Because I've been doing this for like 2 to 3 years. So yeah, we have to know our worth as employees. We have to know our worth as people. We have to get top dollar. We want top dollar for everywhere we go. We want top dollar at the restaurant. We want top dollar at the car lot. We need to have top dollar when we get these salaries at work. Nobody want to work for free.
That's right.
I don't.
Right.
I want to get paid.
So basically, the bottom line for the whole show, man, as far as, like I said, we as the black community, we got to really dig deeper, you know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is, one more thing I want to say, when you see somebody on the way up, don't be trying to put them down. If you, instead of envying that person about what they have, sometimes it's just as easy as you just asking them a question on how they got it. You know what I'm saying? Me, I've never been a person that was jealous of anybody. You know what I'm saying? If I see you doing something good, I'm going to commend you on that. If it's something I'm interested in, I'm going to ask you how you got it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because basically, you know what I'm saying, either you want to share it or you're not. But like you said, Google is free. You know what I'm saying? So basically, we got to be able to, you know, like I said, the people that's around you, you see them doing good, you know what I'm saying, get them, you know what I'm saying, hey, good movie. That was a nice movie you did. You know what I'm saying, you know what, I seen that country clothes, good job. You know what I'm saying, that don't take nothing. You know what I'm saying, because guess what? When you get ready to do something, you want that same praise. You know what I'm saying? So basically, we as, like I said, as a black community, we have to really basically get deep into being able to, you know what I'm saying, be there for each other. We got to work hard. You know what I'm saying, we got to work together. That's the main thing. So when it comes to the time now of our show, what we have it called Ask Bro Code. So we go deep into the audience. We have any comments, questions that basically you guys want to pick about anything, have any question or anything you just want to add to our segment. This is the time we do that.
And it doesn't have to be on what we just talked about today, but if anybody has been following us for the past 2 seasons, just anything y'all want to know about each one of us individually, topic that we talked about in the past, please, this is the time to ask Bro Code.
Hello, amazing show. I wanted to just share, there was a lot of information given. And for anybody watching, it's like, what do you kind of pick up? Like, I was over here Googling chapter 35, trying to call my ex and say, hey, what's your percentage? But as parents, especially with kids in college, one of the biggest things I think we should kind of take away with is, what did you wish that you knew? And if it was something that you did not learn, then how can you teach that to your children regarding finances and where you would like them to be financially?
That's a good question. Me personally, I feel like the first thing you got to do is take accountability that you don't know. That's number one. You know what I'm saying? And like I was just telling the guys the other day, you know, it's easy for you to say that you don't know. But if your kid is, let's just say your kid is taking calculus. Okay, you might not be fluent in calculus, but you guys can learn it together. So when it comes to basically the different things that we're trying to teach our kids, even though we might not know, let's say that can be something that you guys can work on together or learning. You basically learn, but you also teaching them as well. So like I said, we got to be able to teamwork with our kids, and we're going to teach them. Make sure we do the research to know before we try to, you know, pinpoint it and point them in a direction like that.
So I'm going to say take a village, right? You know, when I was growing up, it was always multiple people that looked after us, right? So even if we was out of our parents' sight, we wasn't out of our parents' sight, right? So we have to take the same approach with our kids, because somebody in your family is a teacher, somebody in your family is a doctor, somebody in your family does investments or looks into that stuff, right? So we have to lean on each other and say, hey, little Johnny's struggling, can you help him? They might not can, but they might have a friend that can. You know, networking. And again, that goes back to it takes a village, right? Because they do it. You know, they don't have, they might not work in corporate America, but their frat brother do, or their homeboy do, or their roommate from college do. And so that's how their son got the job at the bank, right? So we have to use the same approach. Right? Because they don't care. They don't look at it like, oh, he finna do better than what I'm finna do. They look at it like, oh, he finna get his money. Yeah. Right? He finna come up. And then he gonna do the same thing for his kids. Yep. And then it's just gonna keep snowballing and going on and on. Yep. So we have to take the same approach.
Yep. Cool.
I also want to add to that, you know, us as parents, like, we have to stay away from what we were accustomed to. We grew up, like, I grew up in a household where it was my dad's voice, or it was his parents' voice, and that's it, right? Like, it's just my way of knowing, right? But we already know, we've already accomplished that, you know what, we're behind the 8 ball with that limited mindset, right? So us as parents in this new generation, we need to allow our kids to talk, but we also need to allow ourselves to be in a position, in a posture to listen, right? Because kids speak, right? Kids have a voice, and if we hack that down, we're only limiting them, you know? So us as parents in this new generation, let's listen to our kids, allow them to speak, allow them to express themselves, because a lot of us and a lot of kids these days don't have that outlet. why therapy is so important, and you know, kids are just needing these outside resources. But it can really start at home if we take a different posture as parents. And like who said, it takes a village. So recognizing, okay, I'm parent, I'm weak here, but you know what? I got a homeboy that's good at numbers, or I got a auntie that is a very, you know, just whatever she's good at. Let my kids spend more time with her to soak in that information. So we just got to have a different posture and kind of listen and be in tune to our kids.
Next question. Hi, how's it going? So I actually have a couple questions.
We like it.
But, so my first question was, how do you think we could tweak a Black community mindset to thinking of how to spend our money as opposed to how much to make it? You know, like, because we have, when we were younger, you know, as young children, like I said, when I was going to college, we were always thinking like, oh yeah, you know what? Once I get this refund check, we always thought about how we're going to spend it.
Yeah.
We never thought about how we're going to get the money.
Right.
You know, so we always had that mindset.
Yeah.
So now as we get older, we're always thinking like, how am I going to make this money? You know, we forget that mindset of how we were when we were younger. Of like, we already know we're going to do it. So now, how do we teach our children how to change that mindset to think, you know what? Think of how you're going to spend it. Don't think how you're going to get it. What you're going to invest in.
Right.
So that's a good question, right?
Great question.
Because we were those kids, right? When we was in school. We couldn't wait till refund day. We was the first one in line.
The polo outlet. The polo outlet.
We not go outside the area, man.
Right. Fresh to death.
Yeah, we couldn't spend all of it. Right. But you know, getting a refund check is probably the biggest test for young kids, right? Because as parents, if we do our jobs right and we talk to our kids about money and finances, the first thing they're going to do when they know they're getting a refund check is say, hey mom, hey dad, I'm going to get back X amount of dollars, what should I do with it, right? That lets you know that you did your job as a parent.
Yeah.
Right? At the same time, they already might have their own idea, like, hey, when I get this money back, I'm investing. Because mom and dad taught me right. And the training wheels is off. So I can ride the bike by myself. I don't need mom and dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, as parents, when we're dealing with our kids and their financial aid, and we're understanding that, okay, they're going to get a refund, you can hover, right? You're going to hover around to see and see how they address it, right? How they attack it.
Yeah.
If we see them coming back with these $300 sneakers, then we know they didn't get the lesson, right? So then as parents, we got to step in,
Yeah.
you know, and we got to say, hey, you know, you spent $300 on sneakers, in 6 months, you're going to be wanting another pair of $300 sneakers.
Yeah.
Let's take that $300, let's go put it over here. You know, and again, I'm not a financial advisor. I just done a lot of reading, and, you know, REI is a stock, and you can look at it. It's traded on Robinhood, probably trading across other investment platforms. It gets you started in real estate. A couple of dollars, you know, you can get started on the ground floor, like Rico said, when it comes to real estate. We can look at our kids and say, hey, put that money over here. Google stock, Apple stock, Tesla stock. How much one share costs? How much 2 shares cost? If you can take $300 and buy 2 shares of Tesla, let's do that. You know what I mean? So we might have to nudge them in the right direction because we've seen that, you know, they weren't going to go in the right direction.
Yep.
I would also like to add to that, like we have to show them how investing their money can make them more money. Because you're talking to 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds that are seeing, they're on campus, because I was that one that's walking around like from nothing and seeing these girls with designer bags and stuff like that. So I want to be a part of that. Because in a way, your freshman year is just like high school all over again. So you have to show them that investing that $300 is going to make you $700. That $700 is going to make you $1,000. You got to show them like you're going to make more money in the long run or even the short-term run, because they're not thinking how we think, like, oh, in the next 20 years I'm going to get a house because my credit's good. They're not thinking about that right now. They're thinking about how I can look better than the next girl walking on the street. So you have to change the narrative almost, like, to make them understand, like, hey, I'm going to be better off in the next couple of months. Make it a short-term goal for them versus a long-term goal.
I think you should allow the kids to spend, right? But they have to know that they need to set something aside first, right? And then after that, you can spend once you set something aside for your future, right? And let them know, have the mindset of it's chess, not checkers, right? You know what I'm saying? Checkers is a quick game, right? Chess is more strategy. You got to plan, right? I hate chess. I hate checkers. I love chess, right? Because I'm a thinker, and so you got to think for the future, right? But they're kids. And even as adults, we like to spend. So you're going to set something aside and still spend, because you only live once. You can't save everything. You
That's true.
You should allow the kids to spend something, but know that, hey, you need to save for the future.
Yep. We go.
So I tell my boys, because they out in this adult world now, and they always call me and be like, can I go back to being a kid?
Nope.
Ain't no rewind with it. We in it, I always give them, the guidance same guidance I've always given them. You work, you earn, enjoy some of it, but don't go too far. Don't go overboard. Always make sure you got enough to where if you decide to leave your job, you can pay 2 months' bills. Because you call me, I got you for about 2 months, maybe 3. If you good, you have to come watch my car. Well, that little 6 at their age, but that's what I'm known to say. But no, I tell them, have at least 2 months, 3 if possible, because I got you for about 2 or 3, so that'll equal 6. But they're gonna have to come do some stuff for pops, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, I don't think that any of us go to school and work to just pay bills. That's not realistic.
No.
We have to be able to enjoy our money, but we have to be smart about enjoying our money.
Yes.
We work, we put aside, we grow, and then we look for opportunities to make sure we put our family and ourselves in a better position.
He got one more question. He got one more question.
We got one more.
One more question. So, in your opinion, your all's opinion, what is the difference between business credit and personal credit, and how should we use it?
Oh, that's easy, man. Business credit trump all day. Business credit makes it easier on your personal credit, because now you don't got to worry about your personal credit. In the sense that if you trying to make a payment on your statement instead of on the actual due date. You know what I'm saying? Business credit will help put you in a different arena because you can get more money. If you got a business versus personal credit, they look at your business credit, you can get $150,000 versus $50,000. You know what I mean? So it definitely will put you in a different arena where to get more money, and it'll open more doors for you as well. To be able to do more things, so having an LLC, going and say, hey, I want to buy this $150,000 house, versus going to them and saying, hey, I want to use my personal credit to buy this $150,000 investment property, right? So they'll look to us and want to look at all your, tax information, debits, credits, what you got in, what you got going out. Versus if you say, hey, I got an LLC, okay, well, how much is this property gonna make you every month? On the LLC, that's all they want to know, because they just want to know that the payment gonna be made. Versus on your personal credit, how can you afford it?
You see what I'm saying? So business credit always gonna trump personal credit.
Next question.
I just want to know that y'all know I enjoy the show.
Thank you.
And just, thank you for saying what you just said a while ago when you said just apply for the job because you don't know if you're going to get it or not. Don't worry about what they're asking for because I'm going through something personal right now. And I've been at the airport for like 25 years. And now I can't work at the airport. And I see a lot of jobs that I can do, but they asking for specific things. Like, well, I can't do this because they asked me for that. That's this. But thank you. But that made me more
Confident.
excited to just send resumes out because you never know. But I might be the only one who will apply for that job.
Yeah.
And like you
Lift her
said,
up.
they would train you. Every job would train you. But my question is this. I have a son who just almost finished college. He got 1 more year, but he has baby, I have a grandbaby. Now he's going to stop college. Well, he did stop college because he wanted to take care. But what is advice from the fellas to give to him, to let him know he needs to finish college, to get it better for him and the child and his girlfriend or whatever? Because he was almost finished with engineering.
Well, number one, I think my advice would be these days, even a college degree don't really get you far. You know what I'm saying? So, even you got, like I said, back in the days with our parents, they had, someone had grade school education, someone had high school education. Very, very minimum went to college and really did something. So, like I say, and I tell my kids, even though you get a college degree, that really does not mean nothing because you got lawyers and doctors out here that got masters and doctorate degrees and can't get a job. You know what I'm saying? So basically my advice to that generation would be basically you got to know what it is you're trying to do. You know what I'm saying? Because whatever your goal is, just know without the proper education and something to go along with it, you ain't gonna reach it.
Right.
We want to thank you for being transparent with what you're going through in your job situation. Go get it. We graduated from Georgia Southern. Two of us graduated from Georgia Southern. And we say, gotta get out that ass. Whatever you want to do, go do it. So apply, right? Advice to your grandchild. Like Oak said, to me, I'm a college graduate. We're all college graduates. In this day and time, I feel like college education is overrated, right? So the conversation I would have if that was my child, okay, what's the alternative, right? What's the alternative? If you don't want to finish college, what's the alternative? And as parents, we gotta hear our kids out, right? And we gotta see okay, what are you passionate about? What are you saying? What do you want to do? If it's a rapper, if it's a photographer, if it's whatever you want to do, if they're passionate about it, I think us as parents, us as villagers, we got to support it, right? And I think you're in a position to be a supporter of your grandchild, but you got to hear them out too, right? Yeah.
And let me say one more thing. And the thing about it is, is it the grandchild is a guy? Son, okay, yeah. So basically, I can piggyback off that. I had numerous conversations with my nephew. Me and my nephew, we sat down, we chopped it up a lot. So he came to me one day, he was like, I'm just trying to figure out, you're saying, and then piggyback on what you were saying to your son, life outside of football. So what I told him was, the nephew, what it is, you got to find where your passion is. Football was your passion, but you got to find your passion outside of football. So what it is, you can't be afraid to try different things to see where your passion is. So it kind of surprised me to see one of the passions that he picked up was photography. That's something that I do. I didn't go to him and say, well, you know what, I'm a photographer, you need to be a photographer. I said, no, what is your passion? dig in, play around with a couple things. You young, play around with as many things you can play around with until you find your passion. Once you find your passion, you'll know that's what it's meant for you to do. And he has done that, and I'm so proud of him.
Yeah.
And he has been doing it.
Shout out nephew, where you at, man?
There he is.
Yeah, nephew.
Let's go, nephew.
Hey, for those who don't know, nephew be doing our photo shoot,
Yeah.
man.
I just want to say that engineering, the engineering profession is needed. They're always wanting engineers,
Especially black engineers.
especially black engineers. There's so many scholarships out there for black engineers everywhere. My daughter's an engineer, and I know he loves his child, and that's where he should maybe be able to lean on the family for support. Because that college education as an engineer is gonna give him and his child a better quality of life. Because what he's gonna go make at a regular job, opposed to making $80,000 a year getting out of school for a demand on engineers, black engineers, I'm just giving you this advice as a mother. If it were me, I would help assist with taking care of that child. Pull together as a family any way you can, and help them get through it, because it's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. Keep them in prayer. Just help. I mean, like they were saying, it takes a village, and it really, really does. So that's my advice as a mother.
So I'm gonna co-sign with what she said. Oh my bad. So I got a cousin that's an engineer, right? And he went to the illustrious Florida A&M University. And I'm saying illustrious because that's what my baby graduated from 2 times, gonna be 3 times. He get his pharmacy degree, But looking at the money that he was gonna make if he left as a master total degree student versus a doctoral total degree student, peanuts, So I say that to say sometimes we gotta put ourselves in the line of fire. We gotta pick up the baton and run so that the next person can make it, right? Luckily, he didn't have this dilemma to where he had to choose between working and a kid, providing for a family, right? He was able to go straight through. But where he sits now, he can definitely take care of the family with no questions.
Yeah.
So if that's where your son is, and that's what he wants to do, and that's really his passion, as a mother, you definitely have to do whatever you need to do to help him make that come to. It won't be easy because it never is for us, right? But we always make it work, right? And I say we because I look at my mom and I look at what she did for us, my brother and my sister and myself over the years, right? She never made a ton of money. And she probably is the queen of making $20 straight for like 2 weeks, right? But we never do that, right? Because we never went without. And we never wanted for anything. And it wasn't until, our later years of having these conversations with her and being able to laugh about, oh, well, you didn't know what I was doing, or you didn't know, now that we understand as parents. So, as a parent, when my son graduated, hey, Pops ain't gonna have a job, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's do this. I got you for 3 months. It shouldn't take you more than about 2 months to get a job. And then I give you an extra month to save a little money. But you can get these bills back after 3 months.
Right.
And that's what I did, and that's what he did. He was on his grind. Pops, I got an interview. I didn't ask him for that because, like I told him, I got you for 3 months. But in his mind, I want to make sure Pops know I ain't out here messing around. And he was taking care of business. And I appreciated that. So now when he comes to me, I don't have no problem with doing anything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's how we should have, that's the approach we should have as parents. You show me you take care of business, I got you.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and I'm glad that he can do that because I couldn't do that. And these are conversations that I had with him as a youngster. Like, I ain't had nobody to call when I ain't had no money to eat. Or I had no money to buy groceries or pay my bills. I had to figure it out. You know, and as an adult, I figured it out. You know what I mean? So we have to be there and do, you know, whatever we can. All right, Rico. I'm done.
All right, so this one's a little personal for me. So for me, I believe that, 1 year left, I mean, he's 80% done. So that means he definitely, he wants his degree. He wants to finish, right? And we as a family, I'm calling you family, we need to do everything to get him back on that path, right? Will I babysit? Yes, I will. You know what I mean? So they come spend the night, don't even matter. Whatever you need, we'll help you, right? But he's almost there. I know he wants to finish, and that's going to be the best thing in the long run, right? So that's my take on it, right? We got to figure out a way as a group, right, to get him back on that path and have him finish and get that degree.
Thank you.
Go ahead, next question.
So, basically, you got one more question? Okay, it's the last question.
Hi, I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller, so thank you for letting me talk over.
Really, Stacey?
I have really enjoyed the show. I really have. It's really good content. I wanted to offer commentary if I'm allowed to. I can. I am allowed to? Okay. So we were talking about, we were talking about building Black wealth, right? And what the first steps are. And of course, a lot of it is talking, communicating, exposure. Speaking to other people who are emulating the quality of life that you're looking for, right? You don't talk to broke people about how to get rich. You just don't. You talk to experts, millionaires, investors, entrepreneurs, right, on how to get rich. Credit is important. Emergency funds are very critical to survival, I would say that. If you don't have an emergency fund, for a young adult, maybe $500, maybe $1,000, right? That handle incidentals that happen, that flat tire, your transmission. I keep hearing about transmissions the past couple of weeks. That's not a small order, and everyone doesn't have a credit card. You don't have a credit card, so you self-insure by putting $30 away every paycheck. In a year, you'll have $1,000 saved, right? So it's making small steps. It's making sure that every step you do, everything you do, works towards your goal, works towards your purpose. If buying that new car right there, when your car works just fine, if buying that car doesn't go towards your goal, you don't get a new car. Your new car might be a $500 car that your neighbor is selling because you can't afford another car, right? So it's grown-up decisions for the quality of life you're looking for, and having people in your life who are mentors. And failure does not mean that it's over. Those are learning steps. Those are steps to getting where you are, where you want to go, building your character, and just keep going forward. Everybody falls. It's about how you recover, right? And you make better decisions. Yes, you thought that was a good decision, but it's not. And it's okay. So it's a learning lesson. So you do something different, but you don't give up. Emergency funds are the first thing I feel like is the foundation for building wealth and teaching your children, because they get money in their birthday cards starting at 2, 5, 6. They get money in a birthday card. Let them spend half of it and let them save, make them save half of until it is a habit. Starting a savings account without your children knowing. I do that. Putting them on your credit card. Don't tell them that they're on the credit card.
Don't tell them.
And pay the credit card every month and be fiscally responsible. These are the lessons that your children pick up on. And I just wanted to say, I hear investing, but if you don't have $10, you're not investing. You should not be investing because you don't have a savings account. You would not borrow money to go invest it, so build you up a savings account so when you have emergencies,
Yeah, Rico.
you're able to get yourself out of it without using a credit
Yeah,
card.
Rico.
That's what I feel like as a former single mother, in bankruptcy, who also clawed my way out of it. Those are the things that work out. It's different for everybody. Everybody has different support systems, education, villages. Get yourself around somebody who looks like what you want to look like. Interview them, talk to them, make moves.
Rico looks crazy.
Thank y'all for this show. It's awesome.
Rico.
Thank you, Stacey. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's enough. I appreciate it. Thank you. Hey, guys, so first of all, we want to thank you guys for coming out to our show. This is season 3. This is our 1-year anniversary, so we want to thank you guys for actually being a part of this. We, like I said, thank God to be able to, like I said, with the vision that He has given us to continue to move forward for a couple other seasons. Right now, we have this cup in our hand. We gave you guys a ticket when you first came in.
Tickets.
So basically, Rico is gonna call out.
This is when the prizes come. We got 4 prizes we're gonna give away.
Yeah, we got 4 prizes. So Rico gonna pull out the first one.
So when we call your number, just go see Mr. Tony. He gonna get you right.
Okay, so the first one goes to 0156344.
344. 344.
344. Okay, Crystal. Okay.
We got a winner.
Okay. Who's the second? My sister let me find out who she winning. 362.
362. Where you at? Oh, in the back. 362.
No, he the cameraman. He don't get no cup. No, I'm just joking. The next one is gonna be 357.
357. Where you at? Old Town. 357. Yeah.
How many we got? This is the
Last one.
Come on, sis.
I'm saying the best for last.
I'm pulling for you, sis. I'm pulling for you.
She said you're gonna buy her one anyway.
I'm about one.
You're gonna get her one anyway.
All right, 355.
355. Where you at?
Hey, you called it, dude. You did call it.
Alright, we just wanted to do a little something, just show our appreciation for everybody coming out, and celebrating with us.
There you go, sis.
Hanging out with us. Oh, look at me.
See, you got it one anyway. See, you got it one. So, like I said, we're going to do a shout out to the man behind the scenes.
Yeah.
He came in, the first thing he told us when he came in, it was like, guys, I see the vision that you guys have.
Right.
And he was like, the first thing I'm going to change is no cursing.
I was about to say, this was after he told us no cussing.
After we did 3 shows of cussing, he said, no cussing. Okay, so we looking like, I don't know if that's possible. And he was like, well, if you want my help, it's possible.
Right.
So, but we're going to give a shout out to my big brother, who I've been knowing for a long time. He's not only is a visionary, but he also is a mentor for Broco. He is Broco. Shouts out to Mr. Tony Robinson.
We don't be listening to him, but we be listening to him.
And I got to do this because when we first started this vision, we started in my living room. Okay, yeah. We started in the living room. I'm not going to listen. We started in the living room, and God took us from the living room. But the first stop on our way from the living room was to a studio.
Yes, sir.
So we have that guy here who opened his home up to us last season. We said that made it possible for us to experience the studio life
and make Bro Code a little better than what it was. So shouts out to my boy G Wade in the house.
G Wade.
And like I said, for all you guys who basically, go to YouTube, type in Bro-Code S2, all the season 1 and season 2 is gonna come up. I'm saying subscribe. I'm saying just tell all your friends about the show, have them subscribe, because this is gonna be an epic season, so you don't wanna miss this.
Right. So we're gonna definitely be able to do more stuff like this, more live shows, because this is fun. I don't know about everybody else, but actually, I see everybody faces, they interested, they locked in.
The last show line.
So, we did the first show as a live show, so we're also gonna do the last show as a live show as well. So, if you go online, subscribe to our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube page, you'll get that information to see when and where we'll do the last show. So that way you can come out and we can do it all over again, right? We have a good time again, right? Yeah. Thank y'all for coming out, man. You could have been anywhere on this beautiful Saturday.
One more shout out to my business partner. She opened her home up to us, and she's been a blessing since the day I met her. Shouts out to Miss Rochelle in the house when she actually Shouts out to my girl Rochelle for that Bro Code come in, and she also opened up the doors for me to film my first movie. So she's a blessing to me as well.
And thank you to the staff that's been here. To be able to give you all this good food that y'all been eating on.
Bartenders.
Y'all been drinking on. Thank y'all for coming in early. Y'all probably coming into it later on. We appreciate y'all coming in and doing that for us.
So
thank you to our
I forgot
panel. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate
Miss Brandy and Miss Kim. Thank you for blessing the set with your beauty. Appreciate that.
What you think?
Hey, I'm a boy. What you say? Thank you for coming out. You like,
right. Thank you, everybody.
Hold on,